I'm Ed Kashi. I'm a member of the VII Photo Agency, and I'm a photojournalist and visual storyteller. I also work a lot in film, and I also cherish my role as an educator and mentor. My work in video began in 2000. I was right in the midst of an 8-year project, Aging in America. This was a personal project, still probably the largest project I've produced yet in my career. And about 3-4 years into the project, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have talking heads of our subjects, so we can have an exhibition and you have black and white prints, and then you'll have a LCD screen with one of the subjects talking. I mean, it seems so quaint and naive now, but back then it seemed really cool and really new. Today, my video work is exclusively with the 5D Mark II camera. About 2 years ago, we adopted the 5D Mark II into my workflow, because it's, of course, an amazing still camera. Really is an amazing still camera. The sensor and low light, so many aspects of it as a still photographer are magnificent. And to integrate video into it, and very high quality video, it's just been a game changer really for my work, especially because so much of my work now revolves around multimedia. Last year when I went to Vietnam to work on a project about the lingering effects of Agent Orange, it was really my first opportunity to use the 5D Mark II as a video camera where I was working in the true documentary journalistic mode, that I was not working for a client. No one was telling me what to do or what to get. It was purely my project. And the results were incredible. Ironically, I went to Vietnam to shoot only video, but this is a testament to this camera, or this tool, that I shot maybe 5% of what I did in stills, and one of those images won a World Press Award and was the UNICEF Photo of the Year this year. And again, I did not go there as a still photographer, and yet I was able to squeeze out these images. The reason I was able to do that is it was one of those moments where I'm in video mode, and I turned around and I saw my subject. There was this amazing light, this shadowing, and it was sort of, this is a magnificent still moment. And I didn't have to do anything except press a shutter. Who would have thought, forget 30 years ago when I got started, but even 5 years ago, who would have thought that I would possess a tool that would allow me to do these kinds of things? What I love with this camera, with the 5D Mark II, is that you can so quickly change your ISO and your f-stop. But so I'm working completely in manual mode when I'm shooting video. Everything is manual, and I like it that way. In terms of establishing my exposure in stills and video, there is a bit of a difference. With stills, quite often I will lock in, I sort of use the lock-in button for exposure, and I'll try to lock in on what would be the brightest point, or close to the brightest point, so that I can have a saturated, not underexposed, but saturated file. With video, I'm looking much more at that screen, and I'm sort of relying on that screen. And then, of course, the other element that's involved is white balance. With stills, I don't worry about that. I'm always in auto white balance. Again, I want to reduce the variables. I want to think about as few things as possible on the technical side. But with video, you have to be cognizant of these things. And it's wonderful to be able to quickly dial through the different white balance modes. And so, for instance, we found there are conditions outside where your intuition would say, oh, you put it on daylight. But if you put it on cloudy, it can add this lovely warm feel to it. And this was something, when I discovered it, I was like, wow, that's cool. The low light capabilities of the 5D Mark II are incredible. They really have, it's another element of this device that has revolutionized how I can work. I can work with less equipment, less lighting, and I can shoot in places that in the past I never would have even considered shooting in without supplemental light. And as a photojournalist and as a documentarian, I cannot tell you how important that is. It allows me to have a smaller footprint, yet capture more. There was another sequence in Rio, and we were spending time with a mother whose a teenage son had been killed in prison, awaiting trial. And so this one day, she took us to this absolutely magnificent, huge cemetery in Rio de Janeiro with the famous, Sugarloaf Mountain and the Christ cross in the background. And, so I immediately thought, wouldn't it be interesting to get her footsteps walking to the cemetery? Now, if I had a still camera, I couldn't even conceive of these kinds of things. But with the 5D Mark II, I was able to just hit a few buttons, and all of a sudden I'm capturing what I thought was a really powerful sequence that could then be integrated with the stills I was taking. It has made what we do so much easier. Now, it doesn't replace your heart, and it doesn't replace a soul, and it doesn't replace your intellect or an eye. But in terms of my ability to work in virtually any lighting circumstance I could imagine, it's amazing the freedom I have now to make imagery whenever and wherever I want.